person host, whatever floats your goat. It's Relentless here, bringing you yet another Division build video. And today, I must say, this is outside of the norm of how people roll and use this, but I will tell you it is very effective and godlike and practically immortal. Gameplay to this build will be in the description below, a link to a full gameplay of utilizing this build, so check that out. Thank you guys so much for your support. But without further ado, let's hop right into the Immortal. As you can see, we are utilizing the 6-piece Nomad. Most people stack all out into firearms, low stamina, and then basically no skill power. They pretty much stack all that they can into firearms and just leave on their procs. But this way, I found out you actually can stay alive a lot longer and put out just as much, if not even more damage. So let's start with the weapons first. We have the House, 18.1k base damage with Vicious, Deadly, and Card Counter. This is the best house that I have currently, and it works out well with the Nomad build because you do have the extended health bar, the overheal bar, so you will stay above 2 health segments for a periodic longer time than with any other build. And also I am using magazine size, crit damage, crit chance, and my small optics I'm using crit damage, optimal range, and crit chance. Muzzle, 19% crit hit damage, crit hit chance, and then the underbarrel, 19% crit hit damage, stability, and reload speed. Now moving on to my secondary, I call this my little cricket. It's completely optimized right now, and it has determined, competent, and talented. Determined, killing a target reduces all skill cooldowns by 7.5%. Competent, weapon damage is increased by 10% for 15 seconds. And then talented, killing a target with this weapon increases skill power by 15% for 20 seconds. The effect does not stack. Killing a new target refreshes the timer. So basically, I whip out my secondary here, my little cricket. I mow down an NPC or finish off a player with it, and boom, I get 15% more skill power when I either use my booster shot or I pulse. And so it increases my skill power by 15%. On my little cricket, I have magazine size, crit hit chance, rate of fire, crit hit damage, accuracy, and crit hit chance. And my muzzle, crit hit damage, crit hit chance, optimal range, and increased threat. Moving on to the gear. 1943 decent armor roll, 1371 not so great there. Once I get it completely optimized, the main stats will go up, but you want in the majors health and skill haste, and in the minors ammo capacity, and in the mod slots we have 267 firearms with 3% skill haste, and then electronics, 260 electronics with 3% skill haste. Moving on to the mask, 1401 is the major stat. In the major attributes we have skill power, and the minors 17% burn resistance, and in the mod slot we have 262 electronics with 3% skill haste. Moving on to the knee pads, good armor roll is 1631, 1388 electronics. In the majors you want skill power. In the minors, damage to elites, increased XP and burn resistance. I'd rather have like disorder resistance and shock resistance instead of the increased kill XP, but the damage to elites come in handy when PvEing with this build. And in the mod slots we have 267 firearms with 3% skill haste and a 2% pulse crit hit damage. Moving on to the backpack, we have 1202 in the main set armor, good electronics roll in the majors, crit hit damage, and in the minors as always ammo capacity. So we're stacking on as much crit damage as possible. And in the electronics mods with skill haste and 2 first aid, 6% first aid self heals. Moving on to the gloves, we have 1401 as our main stat. Great there. Armor is low, but once it's completely optimized, it'll be a lot tougher. And you want SMG damage or the type of weapon that you'll be using. In this case, I'm an SMG preferably player, so therefore I have SMG damage with the skill haste and crit hit damage. Moving on to the holster, good armor roll on the holster here. Decent main stats. I can yet to optimize this. I think one more time. That'll at least put, you know, better stats as far as stamina and the electronic stats, so that will reflect if you have a better holster with better main stats than what I do. But in the major attributes, you want skill haste, and then in the mod slot I have 2% pulse crit hit damage. Now let's take a look at my character sheet, if I have on the right weapon. Starting out with the house, 41.5% crit hit chance with 126% crit damage, 50% headshot damage, 5% stability. There goes reload time. The only damage I get from my gloves is the 12%, 14% damage to elites, 25% health on kill. Then we go to skills, 205k skill power with 40% skill haste. And there's my armor and my max health pool. Now with the 126 crit hit damage, add another 30 crit damage to that, so 156 crit damage, and we are maxed out in crit chance when we pulse. And then with our booster shot, we have 126k. You can do away with the 2 additional 2% crit hit damage if you so choose, and instead have nothing but first aid self heals in there. And I did the math, and with each 6% first aid self heal, I got roughly around 6k going into the self heal pool. So you can get a better and a little bit larger, about 12k, so it'll be around 130k for your self heal. I just wanted to see and test it out to see if I just add a little extra crit damage to see what it would do, but yet still have a good enough booster shot to where I get a significant heal from it. And in the talents, if you are running with a group, like you'll see in the build video, instead of the critical save here, I had on triage, so that way my teammates can run through as I shoot down a booster, and that in turn gives my skills a reducing cooldowns by 15%. And then we have combat medic, strike back, and of course adrenaline for the 7 seconds of immunity from status effects. Now also, if you say somebody in your group is running reclaimer, and or a much tackier tack build, such as a larger skill power than what you have, more than 205, and say they're running pulse, then you can easily switch to an immunizer down here, support station. And I also have the 5% healing speed mods. So with 4 of those, my healing rate was pushed up to like 10k. And as you can see, the health on the box was 28k, but all that doesn't reflect if you kill at least one target or enemy, whether it be NPC or a player, and get that extra boost from talented on your secondary. So you'll get an extension of 15% skill power to that, so that way your health on your immunizer box and your healing rate will actually go up even further if you choose to run an immunizer with this. And it also all depends on if you're running solo. For running solo, I always use the pulse and the booster shot, but for in a group, as you'll see in the gameplay in the link in the description, we have a tack build with this, therefore he was running a box. So it worked out really well, but then I switched it up and was like, well, you got a much larger pulse, and even though after I pulse I'm hitting for 156 crit hit damage, yours is, give me a little bit more percentage wise on that, so you switch to pulse and I'll go to box. And then I switched out my mods and got the 4 or 5% healing speed on my box, and it pushed me up to 10k. And in the life of it, pretty much basically almost the same. I mean, it's up for days, so it works out really well. It's very versatile. And then plus with the nomad procs, I believe I stood there and put my hands behind my back and during my emote and allowed 3 players just to steadily pound at me, and through my nomad procs and me just like tapping on a med kit and having my heals back so fast and booster shot, all 3 players had to reload 3 times each, and 1 was using Pred and 2 were using Banshee. So therefore they were just pounding me, and I stood there and took it, and they had to all had to reload 3 times each, and I was still standing. So that alone shows me that even by solo and only having 419k toughness, but having a significant amount of heal coming in. And then by sending out my box, you basically can just stand there, take all the damage, and just laugh at them and be immortal. So I hope you enjoyed it. Try this way out instead of running the 9K in firearms Nomad. Switched up, and like as you can see here, I got 4691 in firearms, just a little in my toughness and the rest in skill power. I went with the more or less 4.5, 5, 6, and it works out extremely well, and I like it better than 9K firearms in the Nomad, just pretty much like everybody else. I try not to do your normal cookie cutter build videos the way everybody else is running a particular build. I like to try things and do things for myself and not just follow the crowd. And in certain situations it works out nicely, such as this. In other ways, there are better ways to roll and build a certain gear set, but in other ways you have to branch out and try things. A lot of people are sleeping on skill power in this patch, and with certain builds it actually works out better than the way it does. The way normal people roll things, such as Pred and D3 and C, F and C, there's basically only certain ways you can have those gear pieces rolled because you have to reach the 9K stam. So therefore those are the exceptions, but all the others you can tweak, mix and match and try out different things, such as this build like I have it here, and it works out better than the way the most cookie cutter Nomad builds are out there. So I approve it. I give it 2 thumbs up, 5 out of 5 stars, wherever the case may be. Just try it out. Check out the gameplay in the description below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Appreciate all the love and support, and we'll see you guys fudging later. Goodbye.